Hey everybody, I'm John Graham, writer, director, and producer on Arby and the Chief, and you're listening to the director's commentary over top the 7th season's 4th episode named Terminal. I'm going to be talking about elements from all the episodes of the season released so far, however, and chose to commentate over this one in particular because it has the longest runtime. Because I know you'd all gladly axe and hand over your left nut to listen to me talk rubbish in my agonizing monotone about writing and producing the show for 22 glorious minutes. Are you fucking ready? Unfasten your seatbelts, it's gonna be a mild ride. For the one, maybe two people out there in the world that aren't caught up with my show, there'll be spoilers ahead, so I suggest that you watch the first 5 episodes of the 7th season before proceeding with this commentary, not only to keep the show's surprises intact, if you're interested, but also so I don't have to personally fly down to your town or city, drive to your house, and beat your fucking ass, because you're going to watch it, and you're going to like it, or you're wrong and you suck cocks. Okay? So, just keep that in mind. Alright? I hope it goes without saying that I'm representing only myself and my damaged brain with this commentary, and in no way represent the beliefs and ideas of Machinima, Bungie Studios, 343 Industries, or the Microsoft Corporation. And I'd like to offer many thanks to all of them for allowing me to do what I do, giving me the opportunity to expand my creativity, perfect my craft, entertain people, I hope, and receive feedback that I can use to improve my skills. But I can't go without thanking the most important person of all, can I? I am, of course, talking about myself, because I'm so fucking awesome. Oh, and you, the viewer, as well, I guess, for tuning in and whatnot. Whatever. So, Season 7. Going through the comments on the finale of the 6th season, I noticed that there was a substantial demand for another one, and it was a pretty quick decision, as I still had a lot of show ideas floating around. But I said to myself that if I was going to produce another season, that I'd introduce a new tone and build up to something radically different than the happy, sugary ending to Season 6. This raises a bit of a dilemma. On the one hand, many people want another happy ending, especially if this is potentially the last season of the series. It's not concrete yet, but, you know, I'd say 7 seems like a pretty fitting number to end on. And I don't blame those people. It's a reasonable expectation. On the other hand, I'm not nearly as creatively inspired to build up to another sugary ending, so if I did so, the work would be less satisfying for me and would probably come out subpar, and I definitely don't want that. Since the latter half of Season 4, I made a point of making everything that I put out better than the last thing. I don't always achieve that, mind you, but that's what I aim for. However, just because this season may not have a happy ending, I don't believe that that means it'll be an unsatisfying one. Certainly not of lesser quality, relative to the antics of the show and what people typically expect from it. This season builds up to some pretty shocking events that pay off in the last few episodes. I didn't start production on the season merely with the intention of keeping the show alive, but I really wanted to blow people away by the end of it. I realize it's been a slow build so far. I appreciate that you guys have been sticking with it. People ask me why I haven't moved on from the show yet, because, like, I'm 24 years old, and it's getting a bit ridiculous now. Like, it's getting, like, at what point is it gonna get creepy and sad? Like, 24 is still sort of an acceptable age, but it's kind of getting up there. So, but the reason that I haven't moved on from it is that I've been learning so many valuable things from working on it, and that has yet to stop, so I consider it kind of stupid to quit if I repeatedly feel that I have the potential to take the show to greater heights. The show certainly doesn't have the viewership it used to between the first and third seasons, but I'm hoping that I can restore that if I work hard enough. And if I don't, whatever, that's cool. At least I can be proud of the work that I've put out, and I enjoyed myself making it. So, the first image that I had when brainstorming for this season was a group of online trolls crashing a funeral. I'd already done a season revolving around crashing a wedding, so a funeral was a logical jump and struck me as a dark and interesting story beat. The idea was also inspired, obviously, by the infamous net video of an army of bad apples crashing an in-game memorial service on World of Warcraft dedicated to a respected player who had actually passed away. I don't condone that kind of heartlessness, and I hope that's not what people take away from the show, but the idea of that happening fascinates me and struck me as an interesting mentality to explore. And to be brutally honest, the first time I saw the video, my instinctual reaction was to laugh. Now, let me say that I know that it's wrong to laugh because at the heart of the situation there's somebody who genuinely died. And I'm confident that the friends and family of that person don't find a single thing funny about it. This predicament raises a really interesting debate, I think. By hosting the memorial service within a video game that is combat-oriented, I think they were asking for trouble. But where do you draw the line? Should the attackers have let the service go on out of respect for the person that died? Or is everything on the virtual battlefield fair game with no exceptions? And that raises the issue of online gaming and the World Wide Web in general, wedging itself between human interaction and evoking behavior in people that wouldn't normally surface if those people were all in the same room. I wanted that to be one of the themes running through this season because it fascinates me so much. Among others that branch from it, such as the nature and dangers of collective anonymous entities, isolation, perversion, the effect technology has on the human condition, those kinds of things. Another one of my objectives before starting production on this season was that I wanted it to be more character-driven and less plot-driven. Not that I still don't love doing crazy action sequences, because I'm a sucker for all that shit, but through working on the show for as long as I have, I've learned that sequences like that are much more satisfying if they're featured sparingly, and they're built up to organically with a heavy focus on character motivation. I like to think of the process as loading 2 trailer trucks with explosives and driving them head-on into one another. The trucks represent the protagonist and the antagonist of the story. Their head-on collision, of course, represents their collision in the story, and the explosives represent elements of character such as backstories, traumatic experiences, motivations, beliefs, points of view, emotions, whatever else. If you smash the trucks together with no explosives in either of them, they'll crumple, but there won't be a satisfying bang. But you load them up with explosives to the best of your ability, and the bang is immense and satisfying when it eventually occurs. And the more action scenes that you have, the less screen time you have to develop character, and the less satisfying those action scenes become. That's my take on it anyway. So I've learned to appreciate a slow build-up to conflict, which I'm sure has become a major annoyance to a certain amount of my fan base because there's so much time between the release of story episodes. Again, I apologize for that, and I appreciate your patience in sticking with the show regardless. I hope the bites serve as satisfying filler. I've been working really hard at keeping them funny. Not only did I want to dig deeper into the characters of the Arbiter and Master Chief, but I wanted the season's big bad to be interesting and sympathetic. I made a very novice attempt at creating sympathetic villains in Season 6, but looking back on it, I don't think I pulled it off very well. From what we've seen so far, Eugene is a monster who finds too much gratification in the emotional torment of others. But at the root of his actions, he's a neglected child, really, who despises his generation and feels that he can't adapt to society, who should really be pitied, if anything. And he's become a gaming addict and gotten a little too accustomed to exerting his rage through the internet, which serves as a comfortable buffer zone between action and consequence. Going through the comments, I've received a number of complaints about the show becoming too dark and serious, and that it's now strayed too far away from what it initially started as. A funny skit show about two living action figures playing video games and cussing at each other. I can understand the frustration, but that's one of the reasons that I started the Bites miniseries, in order to satisfy that group. I could have stuck with that format, but the fact of the matter is that writing nothing but comedy gets very stale for me. I have to mix it up and take full advantage of whatever I'm creatively geared towards writing to keep myself happy, which sounds a bit selfish, but ultimately I make the creative decisions that I do for the benefit of the work, and thus the benefit of the viewers in the long run, especially considering that people can watch the show for free. I mean, they might be subjected to an advertisement or two, but that's it. I also feel that not taking the show in the direction I have would be sort of a violation of character. The Arbiter's character specifically. He's no longer an entire representation of me and my thoughts and beliefs, but a large part of me, my mentality, still fuels that character. And if I was a plastic action figure with a monotonous robotic voice trapped in a small apartment year after year, I'd be wondering why the hell I was given a consciousness and confined where I am with another living toy with an unbearable polar opposite personality. It seemed wrong not to write about those sorts of thoughts, given how natural and organic they strike me as. The Arbiter, of course, isn't the only character I wanted to explore. In this season, I wanted to send Master Chief on a developmental journey, something that I've never really done with the show before. I've developed him in small ways, like improving his skill at playing games, but that's not even really significant in terms of character. Like, Master Chief has gotten a little bit smarter as the show has progressed, but only in the sense that he comes across as funnier and a tad more coherent when voicing his still terrible and ill-informed opinions. The latest story episode available at this point, Heat, this season's 5th episode, features the darkest moment in the series by far. Chief unintentionally incinerates Cortana in the oven, disposes of her remains, and lies to Arbiter about her disappearance. He also has Greg lie to Arbiter for him, for the greater good of the three of them, which takes a major toll on Greg. This experience causes Chief to feel a sense of guilt over his actions that he's never felt before, and marks the first step in a major evolution in his character. I may be taking the show in a darker direction than what is to many people's liking, but in my defense, I think I've gotten increasingly efficient at balancing drama and comedy, which, as some of you may know, I certainly never used to be good at. Some of the episodes from the 2nd and 3rd season of Arby and the Chief are terrible. And I worked on another series around that time called One Life Remaining, which I look back on as being a horrendous, bizarre, cringe-worthy clusterfuck of outrageous plot elements and stupid teenage emo bullshit that I felt that I had to exert at the time. And the setting, with high-powered weapons, armor, tanks, and alien worlds, was treated as reality and not just a virtual reality, so the entire thing made no fucking sense. I know there's some fans of the show out there, and I apologize if my opinions on the work offend you in any way. I don't mean to attack your taste, and I'm willing to accept that there are certain elements in the show that people find funny or relatable, but I personally hate it overall. That's why I don't list it on my blog, because I consider it to be this terrible cancer that I don't want associated with my current body of work. I consider it a writing experiment gone horribly wrong. Ultimately, I don't regret working on it, though. I tried something I hadn't done before, and I learned a couple of things from it about executing season-wide story arcs, but I kind of wish that I could erase it from the internet. Of course, that's impossible. It's like having sand in your shoes. It's not going anywhere. It's there forever for everybody to see it and laugh at and make judgments of me and my writing ability based upon it, and I fucking hate it. Okay, so I've talked about the broad ideas that run through the season and the characters, so I guess I'll spend the rest of the time going into detail about the production of the episodes. In the season premiere, I had Master Chief throw a glass at Cortana's face, miss, and instead smash it to pieces against the fridge, just above Arbiter's head. Chances are that my neighbors can hear the impact when I break shit in my apartment, so I plan to pull off the shot in one take so people wouldn't think that I was a basket case or there was some kind of heated domestic dispute. I set the camera up on a tripod, stood just out of frame, and chucked the glass at the fridge underhanded, and much harder than I intended to. The smashing sound wasn't dubbed over, it was authentic and really fucking loud. In fact, I panicked a little bit right after, hoping that I wouldn't suddenly hear a knock on my door, but thankfully if anybody heard the breakage, they probably dismissed it as accidental. The impact also left a dent in my fridge that I didn't intend, which thankfully isn't too noticeable either. The idea for the Barbie doll that Master Chief buys from the internet and has mailed to the apartment spawned from a fan of the show who works at 343 Industries, who suggested that I do an episode called Barbie and the Chief. Not only did I find the idea of Master Chief flirting with a Barbie doll really funny, but I also felt that it was really revealing of character in a way that complemented the themes of the season. Besides it being funny, I think it makes Master Chief quite sympathetic. It reveals that he's lonely, desperate, sexually frustrated. It makes him look quite pathetic, which I believe is necessary in order to balance out how offensive he is and keep the audience somewhat on his side, to keep people interested in his journey, most of all. I love that he's brought to such a despicable level when he discards the doll at one point and then has to fish her out of the garbage after being rejected by a real girl. I remember reading that a couple of people were confused with the fact that Arbiter was passed out in front of the computer in the opening of Massive Damage, having been previously reading an article on coping with terminal cancer. It wasn't meant to be taken too literally. I think some people thought I was trying to imply that Arbiter had cancer, which wasn't my intention. It doesn't really make sense to me. Of course, there's a ton of shit that doesn't make sense in the show, such as the fact that they can consume food and metabolize alcohol despite being entirely synthetic, but incorporating a cancer diagnosis strikes me as a little too illogical. All I was trying to convey with the scene was that, given that Arbiter's body is slowly deteriorating, he's merely trying to absorb advice on dealing with the close proximity of death and not any particular illness. Well, it looks like we're reaching the end of our time together. Sorry to say. I know you're fucking gutted. Thanks for listening to my commentary. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least found it somewhat interesting. I'm sorry to make people wait another week for the story episode, but on the plus side, like the episode Terminal, which this one is, it will be a longer episode than usual. We're into the second act of the 7th season now, and writing second acts hasn't really been my strong suit. I'm having a little bit of trouble and need some extra time to work on the next script. Sorry to say. I think I'm alright at writing the first and third acts of stories. I'm hoping that this experience strengthens my ability naturally. I do have a season-wide story outline written, however. I do know where I'm going with the story, and I already know the endings to all the major character arcs, so there's nothing to worry about there, but there's just a lot of little flaws in plot mechanics that I have to iron out. To say sorry for the delay, on my blog's latest post, you'll find a link to a zip file containing a script from a story episode and a script from one of the bites, so those who are interested can see how I write. It also contains a folder with music tracks that I've created to use at some points throughout the season. Now, I should warn you, I am in no way claiming to be a professional music producer. I realize that it's a whole other realm of artistry that I have a relatively small understanding of, and I think that I suck dicks at it overall, but I really do enjoy dabbling in it, and I like to create really simplistic beats and tunes. They're just loops, essentially, and I want to get around. I want to make tunes that successfully help convey the feelings that I'm intending to convey when I'm writing the scenes, and to get around paying the license fees for royalty-free, professionally produced tracks. That money comes out of my own pocket, so I like the times that I pay those fees to be few and far between. I can't imagine that many people would want to, but if you want to use the tracks for your own production, feel free. I really don't give a fuck. Catch you later. Stay tuned.